You will hear in this presentation about two aspects of the history of people along the shores of the Chesapeake, specifically in Dorchester County. The first aspect will be about the geology of the area and changes in the flow, changes in the high rise, changes in the characteristics really of the bay itself. For over 100 years, records have been kept of bay sea levels, and it has been shown that the bay waters are rising in general. Water in the oceans is also rising in general. So it follows really that since the bay is a drowned estuary that flows into the Atlantic, it would have its sea rise level also. The other part of this is, for the geology or the hydrology, is the issue of subsidence. And there are two explanations for subsidence that apparently interlock in a way. The first is that there was a comet that landed in the lower bay eons ago and caused a depression that is slowly rising. The seabed in that area is slowly recovering. There is a counter-structural movement to that, which means when one part of the bay bed rises, the areas around it sink. That is the subsidence. The other aspect or causality that's been suggested is that when the last glaciers from the last ice age left, they moved back further north, the weight of them on the land was then released, and again counter forces caused subsidence where the land was rising and on the edges of it now pushed down by the forces of balance. The net effect of all this is that depending on which measurement station is included, and the Army Corps of Engineers, as well as the state of Maryland and Virginia, have watched all of this with, not surprisingly, great care. If you're down in the Norfolk area, this amount of sea rise and subsidence is one thing. If you're in Annapolis, which is more northern in the bay, it's a different matter. Those are both cities that are on the water, and in the case of Norfolk, they are looking at losing most of their Old Town area to the bay, or to the tidal area. It's not the bay itself, but it's Hampton Roads. And there's discussion, what do we do? Do we move all these things somewhere else? Do we raise them up, or do we just let nature do what nature does? The other aspect that I wanted to talk to you about today is the notion that historic preservation has a aspect which is really preservation of folkways or cultural ways, and that's a fairly recent idea. Historically, historic preservation, pun intended, was brick and mortar. It was documenting the history and uses of things, buildings, bridges, dams, so forth, docks. But in the last decade or so, there's been an increasing realization that part of what goes with that is documenting the folkways, the cultural ways of the people. And I'll also be sharing that with you in my articles that I cite. Thank you very much.